Hi, Monologue.
Welcome back to the miniature mic monologue.
Not really in the best mood right now. Not in the best spirits. And I wanted to talk about something today that doesn't really necessarily have to do with emotion, but I'm feeling really heavy. So bear with me. I'm going to do my best. Not too long ago, but it also kind of was a while ago. I remember watching this video of, I think she was a doctor or a neurologist, talk about metacognition, which is a skill that allows you to observe your own thoughts and observe yourself and your behavior. And she was talking about all these statistics related to it and how uncommon it is for people to be able to do this. And I thought that is so odd because I don't feel like I've ever not been able to do that. Like I used to think that metacognitive thinking was default for everybody, which is part of the reason that I am so dumbfounded by things that people do in everyday life. Because I'm like, anyways, the other half of the reason, or the other part of the reason that I'm so dumbfounded by it, because I'm like, you you consciously made that choice. Okay. Okay. Whether it was 72% conscious and 28% unconscious or whatever, the other way around, I'm like, you, that's a choice that you made. Okay. 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 Um, and I've been having so many of those moments in my life where I'm like, that's the choice you're making. Okay. Um, yeah. Anyways, I wanted to talk about metacognition just in general because like I said, I used to think that that's how everybody thought, that's how everybody experienced life. And in a lot of ways, it is a benefit to have that skill and be in that line of thinking and have experience in it, especially from a young age or coming from a young person. It's something that a lot of people older than me can't do, choose not to do. And it's a detriment to themselves, obviously, but it's more of a detriment to the people around them, especially if they become parents or if they're friends or, even sons or daughters, like not being able to observe what leads to you doing the things that you do can make life feel very hard, especially if you don't like the things that you do or you don't love the things that you do and you know that they are causing people harm. But I want to talk about the flip side of that. Being someone who has always basically lived in a metacognitive state of mind, feeling things is a skill that I am not not nearly as efficient at, right? Like I have talked about this a lot. Like I'm getting more comfortable doing it, obviously, but not defaulting to thinking about why I'm thinking thoughts that lend themselves towards me being sad or lend themselves towards me being upset. Anything that lends itself towards an emotion, I am getting better at not thinking first. I'm not the best at it. Like I'm not, obviously. It's something that I just stated I'm not as efficient at doing, but extremes in general are not easy to bounce back from. Like you kind of have to rehabilitate yourself or renew your mind, if you will, from living on the edge and come to terms with the reality that there is a middle ground. You know what I'm saying? And getting pushed to the edge by life circumstances or, uh, just whatever you feel. Because sometimes we feel things that aren't connected to our life circumstances. is kind of mind-boggling for an analytical intellectualizer. That is my like comfort zone, right? And so I kind of feel like this season of my life, I've been drenched with emotionally provoking circumstances. And it honestly felt and kind of feels sometimes like, it honestly feels like sometimes I'm drowning in the emotions. But I think what it really is just like the first time you immerse yourself in the ocean, for an example. It's really cold and the water's moving around you, so you're very overwhelmed by all of the stimuli, but you know it's not always going to be like this, but you can't help but feel like, oh gosh, this is the worst decision I have made ever. And I think being able to comprehend myself logically, or anyone being able to comprehend themselves by using the skill of metacognition, really can only go so far until it stops becoming self-serving and starts becoming self-sabotage. And I honestly, I hate that. I wish that I could think my way through everything, but that leans itself to me trying to have control, which I know I don't need because I don't know what to do about anything as it relates to anybody in the world. Okay. I never want to go down the line of like, let's play with my likeness uh, to God, to the Godhead right now. I want, no, I don't do that. I don't, no, I don't tread anywhere near that. I don't even tread slightly lightly. It's not happening. Um, but feeling a lot of what I have felt recently is kind of helpless and just a little stuck. Um, and I have done my best to not ask myself why. One, because the answer is pretty obvious. And then two, because I obviously am trying to break down that habit of like leaning on what I think I know or what I believe I can figure out about where these feelings are coming from, because they're going to come anyways, and they're going to be more, and they're going to be ones that I don't like. And I just finished hanging out with literally my soul sister, and we were talking about how sticky the performance mindset is, because we're both former Division 1 athletes, and I was just sharing a little bit of how like I don't. Here's what she said, actually, and it's really good. She talked about like essentially how what we did handicaps us and how it also propels us forward. You know what I'm saying? Like the tension of something being good for you in one area, really good for you in one area, and then really nothing in the other, or not good for you in the other area. And she talked about like trying to understand, as we're both in similar seasons of life, like coming off of two really big life accomplishments that, if we're being honest, we didn't really ask for, or we didn't go into them seeking. Like, I think that's the same for Anna, but like it's definitely true for me. I never wanted to go to college, really. I never wanted a master's degree. I just happened to end up in a situation where I get both of those. But those are two really big milestones in general. And because of the way that we achieved that at universities that were, private, very well established, on four wide scholarships, we were so healthily starved of what it looks like on the other side of becoming who you are, because the goal for an athlete that wants to go D1 is to become who you will be before you get there, if that makes sense. Like, you have to be a certain level of this, and this to even get into the club. So once you're in the club, it's like, you know what I'm saying? And so what she said was, she really had to begin asking herself, who am I? What matters to me? What do I want? When there is no, and here's that like extreme thing again, when there is no threat of punishment on one side, or opportunity for reward on the other. And she explained it like this: like, I go to practice, and if I'm late to practice, there's a punishment for that, right? There's a threat of punishment, so I perform so that I don't have to realize the threat of punishment. I get to practice on time. I perform well at practice. I get praise. I get playing time. That's opportunity for reward. That kind of cycle of life is, I think, where a lot of people live and die, honestly. And I was just talking to her, and I was like, I realized that I was able to use my metacognitive baseline to undo a lot of things in me that weren't good and help me get closer to God and like genuinely grow in my relationship with Him. But now that I'm not in that range of like, there's opportunity for growth, there's threat of punishment, I don't have any desire, any willpower, any gumption. Like, I don't even know what the word is to like go do something, because I'm like, there's never been a me without that. Does that make sense? And it's not just sports. It's like, that's also how you grow up. Like, you do well, you get praise, you get extra money, you get new shoes, you get all this stuff. And like, I'm not coming at parents, certainly not coming at my mother. I'm just saying that's just like kind of how it's built into us. And then if you don't, there's a consequence. But it's like real life, the place in the middle where metacognition kind of stops serving you to propel you forward, or stops serving me to propel me forward, is when you realize that I can think about what I'm going to do, how I'm going to do it, where I'm going to go, what makes sense, why I'm here, what led me to make this decision, why I feel this way, what I want to do. I can analyze that until I'm blue in the face, and it still won't prevent whatever is going to come from coming. And that is not really the case in the world that we come from, because it's like, if you do this to improve this skill, you're going to improve your game and you will get playing time and play well. And it literally operates like that 92% of the time. Like, almost without fail, this leads to this, leads to this, leads to this, and you're done. You got the result that you wanted. You won. And it works like that 92% of the time. A majority of the time, there's always that 8%. But it's like, when you live in the 8%, you realize that so many of the things that were once useful to you mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, are now out of place. And trying to reassess and redefine identity for yourself outside of extreme boundaries of punishment or reward, trying to do what most people do and learn how to live and adjust without the moral concept of good or bad, right or wrong, yes or no, happy or sad, driving whatever you do is a very humbling experience. Like, it's borderline debilitating. And I kind of explained to her that I know that's where I am, and I know that's where the Lord has me, in a state of chosen, like, debilitation, or I don't know how else to say that. Because it's like, if I don't come to understand and decide and know by it's tricky how to say that, like, by the truth, by being able to identify what I feel and how I feel it about my love for God, about my relationship with Him, it will never get identified. And I think it is so easy to get caught up in the metacognitive trap of, this is what people are saying they're doing for their relationship with God, and never sit back long enough to hear what God wants for His relationship with you. And I am guilty of that. And I told the Lord that I was sorry, and I apologize for being so self-aware that I tried to take control of this relationship that He originated. Do you know what I'm saying? I think that's very American, if I'm being 100%. I think it's also very Jiana. I'm hyper independent, and it just is what it is. Like, I'm not going to say it's good or bad. It just is what it is. And I'm not hyper independent because I love it. Like, I do love my independence, but hyper independence is a protective mechanism. You know what I'm saying? Like, at some point, if we are choosing to avoid dependency in the smallest forms, vulnerability has been attacked and exposed multiple times. And yeah, I can attest to that. So it's just like, all of these things that outside of, like, the things that I'm going through that are just, like, absolutely driving me bonkers, like, so crazy. Drowning, drowning. English is not my thing today. Unfortunately, I don't know enough Korean or Spanish to be like, let me just pick a different language, and that's also nonsensical. But what feels like drowning, why can't I say that word? Drowning. Oh, that sounds so incorrect. Whatever. Drowning in my emotions, although that's how it may feel, and although everything in me is like, just figure out how to make it stop, I'm like, there's no safety net coming back to save you. Does that make sense? Because Anna also said, like, that's basically what college is. And, like, that's a whole other conversation that we should definitely have about all that stuff, because there's so many things that go into that. But there's no safety net that's coming back. But there is a God who has promised to never leave me nor forsake me, to supply all of my needs according to His riches and glory. And I can attest, because I felt like I was drowning because of what was going on in my life, that those things have proven to be true. I don't think I would have said that of him if it hadn't happened, or I could have said it with sincerity or any kind of conviction. But oh, there was something else that popped into my head about that. I remembered what I was gonna say, but it's completely unrelated. Anyways, because of that, I guess it is kind of related, but because of that in general, it's just made me question how many things I have done in sincerity towards God, or you know what I'm saying, in our relationship completely. And I think there's always a tension of like, I didn't see myself super clearly there all the way. But what I could see, I really was trying, to be honoring of the Lord and our relationship and all that stuff. And it's made me question a lot of my like aspirations and things of that nature. All of this sounds like the metacognitive, like thinking about what I'm doing, blah, 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 blah. And like, yes, I think it is that. But there's a level of enrichment of reality now because I have been forced slash mandatory volunteered to feel my emotions uh, a little bit more than I have in the past. And like, I want to make that abundantly clear. Like, I sometimes it seems like I'm saying things and it's like I've never done them before. I've never blah, 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 blah. But it's like I've never been able to process it like this up until now. Does that mean that I wasn't doing it before in a way that I thought was good or like correct or like at least honest or genuine? No. And I think that it's hard to be on the sliding scale and not be tempted to like jump to one end and jump to the other, just hang out around the middle and let the mundane movement be what it is. And I don't have anything else to say. I I'm retiring from this metacognitive discussion. It was good while it lasted, I think. Chincha. Okay. See you next time. Bye.